My name's Jeff, and I'm in this band called Untitled Hotel, and this is a song that we put on our new album.
Although they were only commercially active for 5 years and existing for 8, Untitled Hotel has stood out as one of the most well-regarded independent bands of all time. One of many bands forming out of Ruston, Louisiana, and later Athens, Georgia, Untitled Hotel made up the forefront of what was known as the Elephant Six Collective, a group of countless musicians bonded by their appreciation of 1960s pop music, among other things. One of the founders of this collective, Jeff Mangum, had been recording home demos and sound collages, as far as we know, as early as 1989. And the following year, he recorded Beauty, one of his most infamous projects. As of 2018, Mangum and Elephant Six have requested that the recordings of all of his pre-Untitled Hotel demos are not to be shared online, although its existence is known and one of the Elephant Six forum users is known to have an intact cassette copy that has been encoded to MP3. In 2015, a figure creation of what a tape estimated Beauty to sound like surfaced online. If you are interested in hearing this 10-minute recreation, I will leave a link in the description. By 1991, Mangum was focusing more on creating cassette tapes, mostly filled with noise collages, recorded conversations, and other experimental tidbits. Invent Yourself a Shortcake was recorded and released to his friends in 1991, and is the first official recording under the Untitled Hotel moniker. One of the legitimate songs buried between the nearly unlistenable collages of sounds was Synthetic Flying Machine, which would be reworked over the next 6 years before appearing on the band's magnum opus in the Aeroplane Over the Sea as King of Carrot Flowers Part 3. 1 year later, Mangum recorded yet another tape under the name Beauty. However, this is an entirely different tape from the solo recordings he created nearly 2 years prior. Fans will notice that this tape set the boundaries for what Untitled Hotel would do as a band, with familiar songs appearing in stripped-back forms on here. More specifically, the fan favorite, Garden Head Leave Me Alone, appears for the first time, with a prelude by Jeff explaining the song and its unconventional 2 songs in 1 structure.
These are 2 songs written into 1 song. This first song was written on a cigarette package while I was waiting for my friend to be able to get off work. And the second song was written in Athens, Georgia for 2 people.
Hype City soundtrack gave way to some commercial prosperity to Jeff and his project, with Elephant Six sending the tape out via mail order in 1993. This tape is the first official Untitled Hotel release, although copies are now extremely limited and highly sought after. Hype City is one of the more accessible demo cassettes, featuring semi-polished versions of songs like Synthetic Flying Machine and Garden Head. Copies of Hype City are estimated at a $130 market value, after an original 1993 copy was placed for sale on eBay years ago. Over the next year, Mangum would record 3 more demo tapes, 2 of which are untitled, and the third of which is titled Shannon's Monroe House Demos. The Shannon referred to in the title is believed to be Shannon Palmer, one of the Elephant Six members. The Monroe House was, according to Palmer herself, the meeting grounds for all things Elephant Six. Unfortunately, the Monroe House demos have never been fully released online. A full 30-track cassette is confirmed to exist, but only 7 tracks have wound up on YouTube and supposedly elsewhere online. It is widely believed this is due to the uncertainty of an allowed leak. Shannon Palmer sent the tapes to NutrimilkHotel.org in 2005 to be prepared for online access. However, Jeff Mangum has issued no statement on whether or not he wishes the tape to remain secretive or publicly available. Additionally, Mangum has several other unreleased demos from other projects. Synthetic Flying Machine's Heaven is for Kids is known to exist, but has never been circulated online. Synthetic Flying Machine was a collaboration between Mangum, Will Hart, and Bill Doss. This demo is no longer believed to be in circulation. In 1994, independent label Sharedoll Records released Everything Is, Jeff Mangum's first definitive commercial outing. While Hype City soundtrack was released solely via mail order, Everything Is was mass released as a 7-inch single. 1 year later, in 1995, Fire Records would reissue the EP with added bonus tracks, and the same would occur in 2001, with this CD-exclusive reissue being the only one currently available for purchase. The 1995 reissue of Everything Is featured album artwork designed by Mark O, Matador Records' in-house artist at the time, mostly recognized for providing album covers for acts such as Yo La Tengo, Pavement, and Liz Phair. That same year, Mangum recorded what would end up being Untitled Hotel's debut album. On Avery Island was released on March 26, 1996, and featured Rick Benjamin and Lisa Jansen, the first official time that Mangum would be backed by other artists on a formal release. The album featured later fan favorites such as Songs About Sex, Where You'll Find Me Now, the aforementioned Garden Head Leave Me Alone, and Naomi. After the release of Avery Island, Untitled Hotel began gaining popularity, and Mangum decided to perform the project into a band. The band was comprised of Jeff Mangum, Scott Spillane, Jeremy Barnes, Julian Coster, and occasionally Robert Schneider. Robert Schneider was a childhood friend of Mangum's who produced all of the Untitled Hotel releases starting from Hype City soundtrack. In 1997, after some extensive touring as a fully fledged band, Neutral Hotel traveled to Colorado to record a follow-up album to On Avery Island. That album would change the status of their band from impressive to legendary, cementing their legacy as an important example of genius in indie rock and music in general. Inspired by Mangum's tumultuous experiences after reading the Diary of Anne Frank, spending evenings crying and having dreams of saving her from the Holocaust, In the Aeroplane Over the Sea was released on February 10, 1998. It would be the last time the Neutral Hotel made an official release for 13 years. Aeroplane was critically acclaimed and named one of the best indie rock albums of all time, gaining commercial traction a decade after its release, becoming the highest-selling vinyl record of 2008. In 1999, after the album cycle for Aeroplane had concluded and the band had done nearly 3 consecutive years of touring, Mangum suffered a nervous breakdown, condemning his relationship in music, turning down a chance to open for REM, and formally disbanding Neutral Hotel as a whole. Save for a handful of interviews, a position as a free-form radio DJ in the early 2000s, and the 2 solo releases that he had made in 2001, Jeff Mangum has been secretive about his life, has no online presence, and very little is known about what he is up to now. All that can be said for certain is that he is, hopefully, living happily, and it is known that he is married, although it's unknown if he is a father. Jeff stated in 2001, "Next time you hear the Neutral Mocha's recording, don't get your hopes up. It may only be 1 minute of music." Sadly, his words rang true. The band formally stopped recording in the mid-2000s to finish the songs for their box set EP, Ferris Wheel on Fire, a collection of acoustic songs written by Jeff before and during the recording sessions for On Avery Island. In 2015 and 2015, the band reunited and played a handful of live shows, performing Aeroplane in its entirety, along with some selections from Avery Island. No word has come forth from the band since, and it is unlikely that we will hear anything from one of independent rock's most enduring, puzzling, and raw groups for the foreseeable future. Neutral Hotel was a distinctively undetected band during their official 5-year tenure, gradually experiencing general success as the 2000s rolled around. Jeff Mangum's writings on these 2 albums have been some of the most important and influential songs to come out of the underground, and although the sheer brutal realism was too much for him to handle, these tracks have stood their ground as being timeless pieces of art that deliver their punches and carry a mesmerizing gleam. If these albums are all we hear from Neutral Hotel for the rest of time, then I think I'll be alright. Not many bands like them come around too often. The more charm their music carries, the better.